Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Richard, founder of Short Term Rental University and Airbnb Superhost. And today I'm shooting from the Caldera House, which is a private club that I'm a member of and was recently named one of 2019's best new hotels by Travel and Leisure. But unfortunately, the point of today's video isn't quite in that upbeat spirit yet. But if you stay tuned to the end, I think you'll get there. So what is today's video all about? Well, it's what to do when natural disaster occurs. It's inevitable. As you grow your empire and you have more and more properties, something bad will happen. And I want to share with you a story that just happened to me yesterday in real time, and what I did and how I handled it to give you insight as to what you should be thinking about to prepare, prevent, and then unfortunately, if you find yourself into this inevitable position, how to respond. So what happened? Well, yesterday I was on YouTube Live. We were getting on about 45 minutes or so, near the end anyway, and I got a text message from my guest in my most expensive property, which is listed for sale and for rent. It's the cornerstone of my estate. It's my flagship product. Very many famous people have stayed there. The people that are there now, to put in perspective, are spending over $2,000 a night. And so this is a big, important property for me and my family and my estate. And I got a text message, call me immediately, we have flooding. That is the last text message that I want to receive, especially when I'm live on YouTube, educating and teaching and inspiring people. So I exited graciously. It was still kind of a quick exit for me, but I didn't panic and I stayed composed and I got off, and you can watch that, go check it out. But as soon as I got off, I contacted my guest who was staying there, who was freaking out, understandably. They're in a multi-million-dollar house and there's water coming in from the roof and they've got buckets and they don't know what to do and they don't understand how it's constructed or where the water's coming from or how to fix it. They don't know what to do. So the very first thing I'm grateful for is that I was in range. If this had happened the day prior, I was climbing Mount Moran and they wouldn't have been able to reach me. But fortunately, I was on YouTube Live. I got the text message. I remained composed. I exited and closed the YouTube Live, and then I contacted them and immediately started to calm down the situation because I was prepared and I knew how the house was constructed. I built this thing every single step of the way, and so I knew exactly where the drains were. And the way that this was constructed, to give a little bit of the backstory, is my architect in this city suggested we have a flat roof with drains on it that then would go inside the house is basically the gutter. So normally you have gutters on the outside of the house. In this particular case, we had drains in the middle of the flat roof that were all pitched to the drain, and then pipes that ran inside the house to clear the water off the roof. And we built a deck, an ipe, kind of like a teak wood deck on top of it, so when you're on the roof deck, you have no idea that there's drains beneath you. But we also created some access panels to get to those drains in case of an emergency. So I started to explain all of this to my guest, who was really helpful, and I'm super grateful for how responsible they were and how helpful they were. And the two of us remained engaged and calming the situation down and communicating, and it was crazy. Water's flooding in, then the next thing you know, the fire alarm's going off. Now clearly there's no fire alarm, but it's this incredibly loud noise and it's really distracting, and now I have ADT on the phone. In the meantime, I'm trying to reach out to my handyman to see if they're in the neighborhood so that they can run over there, and I don't have one, but I have two. I reach out to both of them. I'm on the phone with ADT, I'm speaking to the guest. It's absolute panic situation, but calm. Working towards resolution, not stressed. We're not like winding each other up and getting deeper and deeper into that like anxiety and just fear. But there was a moment, and I need to share this with you because you will likely experience it too. There was a moment where I started to stack all of these negative stories, like, oh my gosh, this house is ruined and I won't be able to rent it and we're gonna lose all this income and I'm not gonna be able to sell it and these guests are gonna have to move out and there's gonna be mold, and all these stories just stack, negativity. And the good news is, with some of the mindset work that I've been working on myself, I recognized that these stories weren't serving me and they weren't even true. It was just my fear. And within about 30 seconds, I was quickly able to overcome those self-limiting, fear-based, irrational stories that weren't serving me at all and weren't serving my guests and weren't helping anything, and say, that's just fear, it's not real. So let's focus on what's real and what's happening right now. And that was really helpful. So I stayed calm and in control and exhibited leadership not only for myself, but also for the guest, and walked them through exactly how this was constructed. I sent them a photo of exactly where the drains were. I built this house over a year, so I had every photo of every single day. I know where every single thing there is, and I was prepared. I knew where the photos were, so I sent them a photo showing them where the drain was, which explained to them where the removable floor panels were. And they were amazing. They tried to find tools and tried to get the floor panel off, but they couldn't. And in the meantime, ADT is going crazy about the fire alarm. The fire department was sent over. The fire department comes over and they're rushing up and they've got all their axes and everything. And my guest shared with them the photo of where the drains were. They didn't remove the tile that was made because it took too long. They just unscrewed a couple of planks and got to the drain, and then they saw some debris. While this was all happening, I had 2 different handymen that I reached out. Again, redundancy, duplicative. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have 2 people that you can call. And so what are the lessons for you? Because this will inevitably happen to you at some point somewhere. I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. I don't wish this on anybody. But what I do want you to do is the following. Have an action plan. Have a disaster relief plan. Know where your contacts are. If you don't have a stack, a team of people, plumber, electrician, handyman, painter, whatever, go and get them in advance. When you don't need them is when you want to interview them, when you want to hire them, when you want to walk them through your property, so that when you do need them and there is an emergency, they pick up your phone call. They run over there immediately. And so it's really important that you prepare in advance for a disaster so that when that does inevitably happen to you, you can execute brilliantly. And if there's a lesson learned through this video, is that it will happen to you. Take comfort that you're not alone. Take comfort that everything will be okay. When your brain starts to feed you all that negative imagery and you start to stack how your life is over and how the house is ruined and how it's a major loss and you're not going to have any money and you're not going to be able to do this and that and the other, pause, breathe, relax. Realize Richard had the exact same thing happen to him, and through that breathing exercise in 30 seconds you can extinguish that and then dive right back into the leadership role that you are, right? You're the commander-in-chief. You need to take action so that your guests don't have this panic situation, so that the fire department or the police department or your handyman can execute brilliantly on your behalf with like speed and knowledge and support, and they're not stressed and they're not getting yelled at and they're not, they're doing their thing. And all of this just takes advanced preparation. So if this video resonates with you and you're ill-prepared and you don't know what you would do, then take action today. Sit down with a piece of paper for every single property, make a game plan. Here's who I'm going to contact, in what order, and then give that list to your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your son, your spouse, your maid, somebody else, so that in case you're off grid, you have the ability to have somebody else execute on your behalf. And so the best laid plans just require you to think ahead and plan ahead and know this will happen. And hopefully in that planning, it'll never happen. But God forbid it does in fact happen. You better know what you're doing and you better have your team ready to go and you better stay calm. Otherwise the situation will only get worse. And what we need to do is minimize the situation. The guests were incredible. The fire department was incredible. My handymen were incredible. And it turns out the day after, very de minimis damage, really not a big deal. If the thing costs $1,000 to fix a couple of paint spots on the 4th floor, the 3rd floor, the 2nd, I'd be surprised. But even if it costs multiples of that, it doesn't matter. It could have been a total disaster, and all my fear-based stuff was a total disaster, gloomy like scenario. And it's a nothing. It's an inconvenience. The guests were fantastic, super helpful. I'm so pleased that they've enjoyed their stay. They're not moving out. They're not uncomfortable. They're just apologetic that this happened to my house. They love the house. They want to see it thrive and continue. And so I'm really fortunate that I had great guests in the place, that I have a great team ready to jump into action, a great fire department, that I was available and on grid, that I documented all of this stuff years ago, that I had a game plan, that I had duplicative handymen that I could reach out to so that in a case of emergency, I have not one but 2 people that are hopefully ready and willing to jump into action. And it all worked really well. And the other thing to take away from this is preventative maintenance. Even if your handyman or your architect has told you that it's going to be okay and you don't need to do anything, you need to do the preventative maintenance. Clean the gutters, clean the drains, change the batteries in the smoke alarm. Make sure you have the carbon monoxide detector. I need to now improve my preventative maintenance on that roof because I wasn't really doing it nearly enough. In fact, not at all. and it needs to happen so that this never happens again. So use this video as a wake-up call to get ready, to get prepared, to extinguish any emergencies as quickly as possible, to limit your self-limiting beliefs, and have a game plan ready to go. And please share with us in the comments below if you've ever had a natural disaster like this, what you've done, so we can all benefit from our community. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I pray this never happens to you. Please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel, friends. And you gotta live for another day. So when this happens, just keep moving, stay optimistic, and live for another day, because my guests are thrilled, the place is fine, all will be great. We'll continue to rent it out or sell it, but life goes on. Just stay positive. Hope you like the video, friends. Yes!